All right, well, everyone holding by book of Leviticus chapter 18. Again, we're holding by the book of Leviticus chapter 18. We are in verse 2, right? We're still in verse 2. Might be there for a little bit. The Torah says, again, book of Leviticus chapter 18, verse 1, by the Bereshit Moshe Lemor, God spoke to the Jews, to Moses, saying, Tabel b'nei Yisrael, v'amart aleim, ani Hashem Elokeichem. So he says, so God says, I'm the eternal. He spoke, to the children of Israel, and he said, say to them, I am the eternal your God. Right? So he brought down Rashi said, right, that he spoke on Mount Sinai, that God spoke on Mount Sinai, and you accepted my kingship, right? We spoke about that, and if they wouldn't have accepted his kingship, he still would have been king, right? So we're talking about also the time of Ezra. They revolted against stricting of sexual relations, right? We spoke about that, and we're in the middle. I wouldn't say in the middle, really, sort of still in the beginning of the Or Chaim HaKadosh of blessed memory. And we spoke last few weeks, really, about the fact that what a person sees, goes into his mind, right? Then what goes into his mind, it goes into his soul. So basically, what a person sees, what a person hears, has an effect, right? Has an effect on the soul, right? We were speaking about that as well, and he brought down an unbelievable story, which we'll just repeat because I think it's important over here to repeat it, and that is he tells the story from the Gemara Kedushin, 81a. It was something that happened to Rav Amram, the rabbi of the Hasidim, of the righteous. And we're talking about something that happened with Rabbi Masih ben Chorish. Right? What happened with Rabbi Masih ben Chorish? He was learning in the Beis Medrash, right? He was learning the study hall. And again, we spoke out the fact that a person could have an evil inclination, even in a study hall, even in a synagogue. How is that possible? Again, you're speaking about something, bringing examples, you're arguing, whatever. You start to speak about politics. I don't know. A person wants to make, a point, mention something about that, or whatever, something, and nothing to do with your learning, right? There certainly can be an evil inclination when a person's learning. A person can get sidetracked. Next thing you know, 10 minutes go by, 15 minutes go by, right? Maybe longer, maybe shorter. It doesn't matter. Or maybe, there's chesed, there's an act of loving kindness needs to be done. And a person will think, oh, I'm the only one to do it. So, I stop learning. So again, certain things that are pikuach nefesh, saving a life. Yeah, that's when you shut the Gemara, etc. But we spoke about that. And then what happened over here? What happened over here is learning the Beis Medrash, learning Torah, and comes on the Satan. The Satan was jealous, I guess, and how an angel becomes jealous per se, right? Because when he was learning, he lit up like the sun. Reb Masih, son of Chorish, face lit up like the sun. So the evil inclination, the Satan, the angel of death, whatever you want to call him, right? He wants to, try and trap him, try and get him to sin. So he was given permission to test him, right? He was given permission to test him. Now you got to remember, the angel of death, the evil inclination, whatever you want to call him, only can do things. He's an angel, right? But he goes around trying to get people to sin. That's his job, right? Does a good job of it. He doesn't need me to agree. Nonetheless, he can only do certain things if God allows it, right? He has no. Essentially, an angel, right, doesn't have free will, so he can't do whatever he wants. So we see by the book of Job, right, he's allowed to test him, right? But what does God tell him? And again, this would be pretty clear proof that angels don't have, can't do whatever they want. And God said, fine, you want to test him, you can test him. You're not allowed to kill him, right? You can do a lot of things to him, you can make him suffer, can't kill him. right? You are not allowed to kill him. Now, what would that tell me? Things he can't do, right? And if he wants to, doesn't matter. If God doesn't decree it, doesn't allow him to do it, he can't do it. He can huff, he can puff, he can do all kinds of things, right? But there's certain things he can't do because God doesn't allow him, right? So what happened? He tested him. He gave him an opportunity to get him to sin, essentially. So what did he do? He disguised himself, dressed up. I don't know how he did it. Whatever. He disguised himself as a beautiful woman. That's what he did. So he wanted to get him to sin, get him to, have bad thoughts or whatever. And says Ramasya ben Chorish, he was afraid, maybe, right? Sees this woman, maybe the evil inclination is going to overcome him, right? Maybe the evil inclination is going to overcome him and cause him to sin. So what does this righteous person do? He calls one of his students that served him, helped him, and he said, bring to me two things. Bring me fire. Bring me fire and bring me a nail, right? A peg, right? Bring me a nail, bring me a peg, and bring me fire. So his student brought that to him. And what did he do? He took the peg or the nail, got it very, very hot, right? That's why it had fire. Got it very, very hot. And what did he do? He stuck the nail in his eyes. Blinded himself. Blinded himself because he's afraid. Maybe he's going to have bad thoughts, whatever. Finished, take away his own sight. When the Satan, evil inclination, angel of death, whatever you want to call him, saw this, what did he do? He was absolutely shocked. He was absolutely shocked. And he fell backwards. Right? He was in human form. Fell backwards. Maybe it's wearing high heels, I don't know. Whatever it is, he fell backwards. He was totally shocked someone would do this. Right? Not to sin. So at that time, he called the Kodesh Baruch Hu. So he told God, heal him. Like, okay, I see what I did wasn't fair. Wasn't really fair. Didn't expect this person to blind himself. So he calls upon God to heal him. Right? So God, what does he do? Calls upon the angel of Raphael, right? The angel of healing. He tells him, go and heal Ramasya ben Chorish. Says, go heal him. Go heal him. He said, I can't. So I'm prevented from healing him. He said, what happened? He said he sinned. Or he thought he was going to sin. He won't let me heal him. Can't heal him. Right? Or he's afraid. Ramasi's afraid. Right? He'll be tested again. I was going to be tested if you can't see. Okay, good question. Nonetheless, it goes in front of God himself. What does God say? Right? He's afraid. He's afraid to be tested here. So God says, I'll be an Arif. What's an Arif? A guarantor. He says, I'll be a guarantor that the evil inclination won't have any power over you. God says, I promise I won't let anything happen. I guarantee nothing will happen. So he says, I'll be a guarantor. When he heard that, he agreed. And then the angel Raphael healed him, gave him the sight back. On that, pretty unbelievable story here. The fact that he's afraid he's going to sin. Didn't say he sinned. Right? As the story goes, he says, I'm afraid maybe the evil inclination will overcome me and cause me to sin. Now, it did not say, let's make clear, right? It did not say in any way, shape, or form he sinned. It didn't say that. It said he was afraid he was going to sin. Being afraid of sin and sinning are two different things, right? Two totally different things. Now, if you tell me he already sins and he's afraid, afraid of the repercussions, I hear, right? That would make sense, right? That would make sense. But he didn't sin. He was afraid, right? He was afraid he was going to sin. So comes the Or Chaim HaKadosh here. And so actually before we get to that, so think about it. He was afraid he was going to sin. So to what extent did he want to make sure he wouldn't sin? So he takes these pegs that are burning hot, and he blinds himself. Now, you could say, come on, that's a little bit extreme. If a person's afraid they're going to sin, potential, or something comes to them, they're going to sin. The Gemara gives 3 pieces of advice. Gemara Baruch says, what's the first thing you do? If you feel you're going to sin, say the Shema. Right? Say all 3 paragraphs of the Shema. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Right? Hear is the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You say the paragraph to love the Lord your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, all that. You say second paragraph about reward and punishment. Say the third paragraph, about the mitzvah of tzitzis and coming out of Egypt. Good. What if that doesn't help? Person so overcome by desire. What if that doesn't help? So then the Gemara gives a second piece of advice. Second piece of advice is take him to the base medrash. Go to a study hall. Go to a synagogue. Go to a shul. Go learn. Let's say you can't, there's a snowstorm. You can't get out. There's no synagogue nearby, whatever it may be. Right? You can't do that. What's the third piece of advice? Third piece of advice, if that doesn't work, third piece of advice is think about the day of your death. Now, if you think about the day of your death, what's going to happen? At some point during the day, you're going to die. Very good, or maybe not so good, right? Person's going to die. They're going to be in the next world. What happens when they're in the next world? Judgment. So maybe that'll stop you, right? That's the last resort. Think about, you're going to die now. God forbid. Now you're going to have to answer for what you did. And you're not going in front of a flesh and blood king. See, if you're going in front of a flesh and blood king, what could you do? Bribery. You can bribe him. Maybe that'll work. You do other things. Try and get out of it. When you're in front of the King of Kings, absolute truth, ain't no bribery. Can't bribe the King of Kings. Impossible. God's going to call it the way he sees it. So, if a person thought of that, if all the other things don't help, person thinks about the day of his death, person thinks, okay, I'm going to have to answer, should stop them dead in their tracks. Maybe. So there are a number of questions here. One, probably the most obvious question, would be, according to this Gemara, so tell me, instead of saying the Shema, instead of trying to go to a study hall, go to a synagogue, think about the day of your death first. Think about it, you're going to have to answer. You're going to be getting, eaten by worms. Think about that. Why do you think about that first? What would be the obvious answer? One possible answer. That's very depressing. It's demoralizing. In other words, the person's only thinking about death. Now, some people, they do have a death wish. They're like, just waiting in this world to die, right, so to speak. So, okay. Yeah, but most people do not want to think about death all the time. When you think about death all the time, it is depressing. It's depressing. It could be inspirational in some ways. You finally get to the world of truth. Get reward for all your mitzvahs. Hopefully that you did. Hopefully, wouldn't have to suffer that much. Whatever. But if you think about it, on a regular basis, it's demoralizing. Why would I have to be so depressed every day and say, okay, I'm not going to do this because I'm afraid of what the punishment's going to be later? Yeah. So I'm going to fry anyway, so what's the difference? Who cares? Right? You can look at it that way. So the question is only how much I'm going to get punished. But is that going to stop the person? So it depends where the person's holding. If the person's holding somewhere in the world, maybe it will. Because they'll think, now I have to answer. See, when Rabbeinu HaKadosh, when Rabbeinu HaKadosh, Judah the Prince, exarch of the Jewish people, organized the Mishnah, before he died, he told his students that he's worried. He's worried where he's going to end up in the next world. So a student said, really? Come on. The righteous of this generation. You worry where you're going to end up. So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said, if I was going in front of a flesh and blood king, I wouldn't be so worried. Why? There are always ways out of certain things. And again, you can bribe him, other things, other ways. There are other ways to get out of it. We're not going to go to the King of Kings. It's just me and him in the spiritual world. And he's going to address what I've done, or what I didn't do, or what I could have done. That's going in the world of truth. In the world of truth, guess what? Can be painful. What's part of the pain a person may go through? Right? What is considered part of what we call Gehenna? What part of hell? What is that? Part of it could be that now as a pure soul, you now understand absolute truth. You understand what truth is. Now, even if that's true, what's the first thing that normally happens? Right after the person dies, they see their life flash before their eyes. Now, when you see your life flash before your eyes, you can't say, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Your hand, the video shows, right, like we're recording now, the video shows your hand 100% in the cookie jar. You can't say it wasn't there. God's going to say, wait a minute, play back. As Gemara says, you have two angels follow you everywhere, recording everything. Right? So when God's going to judge a person, God says, okay, bring out all his mitzvahs. And all these angels that he created. We'll get there one day in Pirkei Avos, I don't know, when I'm about 102, right? If I live that long, right? That we create, an angel when we do something good. We also create an angel when we do something bad. So all these angels are going to come, and eventually, when a person dies and testify, they're going to come give testimony. Now, doesn't God know everything about everybody anyway? That sounds like the Matrix, right? Doesn't God know everything about everyone? Yes. Does he need angels to record everything? No. Doesn't need that. 100% he doesn't need that. Right? The Rambam says, the first of the 13 principles, either believe in God or believe in idolatry. God is absolute. Being absolute by definition means he has no needs. Right? That's why the Ramchal says, introduction to Path of the Just, God could not have created the world for him. Why not? By definition, he has no needs. So if by definition he has no needs, why did he create the world? What was the purpose of creating the world? Purpose of creating the world was God is a meitiv. God wants to give of his goodness. If God wants to give of his goodness, that means he couldn't have done it for himself. By definition. Right? So he must have done it for someone else. Because he has no needs. So who did he do it for? Must have done it for man. Right? As Ramchal says. So God created the world for us to enjoy. Very good. But there's payback. There will be payback for what we've done. So part of that payback in the next world is the fact that a person is embarrassed. Now, what does it mean to be embarrassed? Here, a person sees everything they've done very quickly in their life. So 70 years, 60 years, 80 years, 90 years, whatever it is. Right? It's like reading a book very quickly, or not even reading, just flipping the pages. That's what it is, but it's all being recorded. Every last thing being recorded. Now, when a person watches that, imagine the angels are watching it also, and they're like laughing at the screen, throwing popcorn at the screen. I know you do that as a spiritual being, doesn't matter, right? They're laughing at the screen. They're like, look what this guy did. Look what this woman did. Right? Just when he thought it was safe to read National Geographic in the bathroom. Like, come on, think again. Look what's going on here. Every last thing is being recorded. So a person can't say, hey, I never did it. I didn't do it. What do you mean you didn't do it? God says, didn't I just rewind it? Didn't I just show you? Your hand was in the cookie jar. Oh, but I got a good reason why my hand was in. Okay, good. Let's hear. See, you can't deny it, so you go to plan B. Plan B is now I'm going to give an answer. I'll give an answer why my hand was in the cookie jar. Now, God can say yay or nay. He can say, okay, good reason. I'll credit you with that. Or he can say, forget it. You're guilty. So part of what Gehenna is, of what that purification, that's how we learn it up. It's a purification process, right? To purify the soul from anything that's done bad in this world, right? It's got to purge out. It can be painful, right? It can, it's going to have to purge out these terrible things they did in order to have a portion of the world to come. Well, let's think about it for 1 second. Imagine in this world, a person got caught doing something. They got caught red-handed, hand in the cookie jar. You can try and convince people why it was there, why this. Okay, very good. You got caught. If anyone's ever been caught doing something, how'd that make a person feel? Probably made them feel pretty bad. Right? You might have somebody that, some people, big egos, right? And they don't really care. They weren't upset they got caught. Okay, but practically speaking, they don't really care what they did. Right? They don't have any remorse or whatever, but they got caught. So now imagine, you know what truth is. You know what real truth is. There's absolute clarity. Now, if there's absolute clarity and you see that video of what you did. We'll talk about the second video in a second. But the first video you saw is what you did. So you can't say my hand was in the cookie jar. Right now, you're watching that and you're like horrified. Horrified. Because it's there. It's recorded. Can't say you didn't do it. Says the Chofetz Chaim. The fact that we have things that can record even back in his day. It's just a parable for what judgment's going to be. Why? Because the person will say, I understand this, what the Zohar says, what Kabbalah says, very good. That everything's being recorded and whatever. And what the Gemara says. So we're going to take it at face value. Not going to think about it too much. Okay. But now comes along thousands of years later. Right? And now, what do we have? We have the fact that God put in the world this industrial revolution. As the Chofetz Chaim says, generations going very quickly. Right? Before the Messiah comes. Right? In other words, you have every 2-3 years maybe can be considered like a generation. I was wanting to explain this to 18, 19-year-old guys. And, before the Messiah comes, the generation is going to go very quickly. They asked me what that, can I give an example? So I said, okay, at that time, I was only like a generation and a half removed from these guys. And I tell them, listen, I grew up without Microsoft Windows. These guys couldn't even imagine. They're like, what'd you use? A slide rule and abacus? Come on, they couldn't imagine. Right? Anyone know what I'm talking about? They couldn't imagine. Right? Yeah, okay. We have calculators, other things. Fine, but nothing compared to what's today. I remember, I was in university, second semester, someone comes back with, with the computer was a Commodore 64, 64K. Anyone who remembers. Or they had Trash 80, right? Radio Shack got 128K. Yeah. I mean, a phone has more than that today. Right? So the Chofetz Chaim says, you have things that record. Why did God make something that records? Allow man to make something record. What does it have to do with Torah? Right? Because everything's for the sake of the Jewish people. So there has to be something for the sake of the Jewish people. So he says it must be that even though the Gemara says we have 2 angels recording, can't imagine what that means. What does it mean to record something? 250 years ago, 200 years ago, no such thing. Recording? Going to be able to play it back? I mean, it's unheard of. Totally unheard of. What do I have? I have a way for a person now to imagine. Now they can see, oh, what the Gemara says, not so far-fetched. Not just a parable here, so to speak. It could actually really happen. How could it happen? How could it be something's being recorded? Oh, come 3,000 years later, more. What happens? Now we have now we have a way to understand. We have a way to fathom that. All right, the Gemara said it. You don't think it's true? So now I got proof. I got proof that could really be. Okay. Right? So that's one aspect of embarrassment. Right? So here you're in that world, absolute clarity, totally embarrassed. Again, this is a form of atonement. Being totally embarrassed. It's not going to be the only thing. Right? Probably going to get punished other ways also, God forbid, but could all, certainly will happen. Most likely. Some more, some less, doesn't matter. Right? Well, what does the Zohar say after that? The Zohar says, okay, you saw your life flash before your eyes very quickly. All these pages turning everything you did, all your thoughts, every second of every day, what you're doing, thinking, this, that, very quickly. Okay. What's the second movie? Second movie is a lot scarier. What's the second movie? The second movie that a person shown according to Kabbalah is what you could have done. That potential you could have reached. The person's watching. Now, why is this embarrassing? The person's watching, something happens. Maybe a lot of things happen, doesn't matter. Right? So say, okay, stop. Stop right now. What was I supposed to do in this situation? What was I supposed to do? Someone said something against you, what did you do? Let's say you attacked them. Not physically. Verbally abused them. Spoke Lashon Hara against them. You thought it was okay. This, that, whatever it was. Right? Why am I going to get severely punished over here? Right? What in the world was I supposed to do? What's God going to do? He's going to show you. He's going to show you what should have happened. In the repercussions, that's why I call it the matrix, right? The total repercussion of what you did, where it went, how it was judged and all that, but what you should have done. So you say, I was supposed to do this. God said, okay, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what your potential was. I'm going to show you what you had to fix up at this point. I'm going to show you at this point you shouldn't have got so angry and you lost it and other things happened. He'll show you. So I would say, again, my opinion here for what it's worth, I think that's worse. It's one thing you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar. Okay, that's embarrassing enough. But imagine a person got tested with whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what it was. And God says, I wanted you to do this. And then this would have happened. And then that would have happened. And then something else would have happened. But you didn't. You failed. Right? You failed the test. So this happened. And then the other thing happened. And that person feels worse. Then a person's going to say, okay, instead of me getting purged up here, let me go back. Let me fix these things up. I mean, that's not the only thing a person's going to be shown. We did a lot of things in our lives, right? It's going to be a lot of repercussions for what we've done, right? For better or for worse. I can't imagine, that pain. I do understand, people may take me to task on this. I do understand that, people are going to see, what you did. What exactly you did in this world. That's embarrassing, right? That 100% is embarrassing. What you do on your phone, You do behind closed doors. Nobody, quote unquote, sees. Well, God sees. What does that show? Lack of emunah. Why? Because you're hiding behind closed doors. You're not afraid of God. You're afraid of man. You're totally afraid of man. That's the opposite of what you should be. Man can't, as we mentioned before. Chol says at the end of Shar Chesh Ben Nefesh, 30th. There are 30 ways to take a self-accounting, right? The gate of self-accounting. And the last one he says is that it's you and God in the world. That's it. You and God. No person can do good or bad unless God wills it, right? In other words, they can't help you or harm you unless God wills it. So you can say, okay, so the obvious question Hope the was asked, very good. So what do you need mankind? What's the purpose of mankind? You need mankind. Can't live you can't live in an ashram somewhere. You can't live, in the middle of nowhere, right? The Rambam says one of 24 things stops the person from proper repentance is living on your own island, right? Being parish minat tzibur, separated from the community. Can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. You got to be with everybody else. So living in your own doesn't help. It's not going to help over here, right? So what do I have? So what do I have? You see what you could have done. Yeah, what you did is embarrassing enough. That, someone could argue, that's worse because you can't deny you did it. It's having your hand caught in the cookie jar. That's bad. You get caught, you get caught doing all kinds of things bad. Can't deny it. Right? I don't know how a soul gets embarrassed, but okay, they feel the pain. They feel the pain of getting caught. So some would say that's worse. That's worse. But if you had greater potential, which God is going to show we all had greater potential, and it could be at many levels we didn't reach it, maybe we didn't come close, maybe we did. But he says you could have done this. Or let's say better, you should have done this. And you should have done that. And because of this and that, this would have happened. And then that would have happened. You wouldn't have to go through these other things you went through. But you didn't do it. You didn't do it. You gave it the evil inclination. You were stubborn. You didn't listen. So you fell in an abyss. And you caused this problem, that problem, the other problem. Now, when a person sees that and they see what they could have done, and how easily they could have done it, they're going to kick themselves. Going to rip out all the hair they don't have as a spiritual soul. I don't think you can do that, right? Probably can't do that. Yeah? That's what I think that's worse. Right? Everyone according to whatever they have to go through. And whatever the trial is. God never puts a person in a trial they can't handle. At least we think we can handle it. God, put us in situations where it's like, it's game over. I can't handle it. It's not true. We may think we can't handle it. Yeah? But a lot of these trials, what should it do? Should make us strong as fire. Right? Even if we have to stick up for Torah. And even if we get slaughtered for it. Not literally. Get made fun of. People say you're living back in, ancient times. You go on a bus. Certain buses here, in Israel, the men sit up front, the women sit in the back. So, there shouldn't be any, there shouldn't be any mingling, let's say, right, in between. So someone will say, hey, didn't you have a hair of, of what do you call it, of, somebody that, refuses to sit, they refuse to sit, in the back of the bus, right? Did you hear such a thing? Rosa Parks, right? Ever heard of Rosa Parks? Right? Come on, like what world you live in? Right? You live in such a backwards life. You never heard such a thing? Well, what about the idea of modesty? And that you don't want people mingling, bumping into each other if you don't have to. Now all buses don't have that. right? There's some bus lines that do. Very good. So the men get in the front, women get in the back, so they should mingle. It's good reason, right? Very good reason. But then someone, makes fun of it. And what does a person do? What could a person do? They feel self-conscious now. Why? They know really what the truth is. The person making this comment doesn't know the aleph base. They know nothing from nothing. Okay. But you know what they think. See, this is the hard part. See, you know what they think. Because you know how they grew up. You know how you grew up. Very good. Right? So now you want to answer them. But when you answer them, even if you answer them in the right way, even if you answer them in a way that you're going to think, oh, this is the greatest answer. This is the greatest answer. Yeah, and it goes right over their head. But it's worse than that. Because when you're talking, what do you sound like? You sound like a missionary. Sound like someone who's born again. Right? And, someone on this path, other people say, come on, I remember you used to do this. I remember you used to do that. Like, I'm not going to listen to you. Like, oh, it's just another phase, another cult you're in, etc. It's very hard because they don't want to listen. And they don't want to listen to you because they know you. Right? All these things, by the way, when a person will remind you of your past, is for a Jew, 100% saying that is Torah prohibition. Torah prohibition. The Torah prohibition is called onus devar. It's making someone feel bad about their past. So someone could say, to a convert, you could say, come on, you give me the business about religion, this, that. Well, guess what? I knew you before you were Jewish. It's onus devar. Yeah. I remember you used to do this and do this, right? Let's say it's a secular Jew becomes a religious. I remember you used to eat shrimp. I remember you used to do this. That's a Torah prohibition. Severe Torah prohibition. It doesn't stop people from doing it, right? It's just a way to say, I don't have to listen to you because I know where you came from. Yeah. And you're this and you're that, but okay. Maybe you're a different person 40 years later. Maybe you're just a different person. Yeah. I'll give an example. I thought I gave a great answer. Tremendous answer. You'll see why I didn't go anywhere. Someone says, come on, you used to pray in the synagogue, conservative synagogue. You used to pray in the synagogue. You're like, it's not good enough for you. So I said, so I gave an answer. I said, listen, when as a child, and you're in school, in order to go to the bathroom, I don't know if things have changed, probably not, right? Maybe, I don't know. Could be, right? Kid has to go to the bathroom, you need a pass to go in the hallway. Okay, right? Makes sense. Can't have people wandering around, this and that. Good. When you're older, in high school, it doesn't work that way because they're given more responsibility, greater responsibility. You don't say, "Oh, that person's been brainwashed," right? Because he can walk, he can go in the hallway by himself. Doesn't need a pass, right? Let's say, to go to the bathroom. No one says that. You say, "Oh no, it's given greater responsibility," right? It's giving greater responsibility. I've been brainwashed. That's one answer. Yeah. But the other answer was, and I thought this is even better, is that, I'm not a Hindu. If you're born in a certain caste, that's it. You stay there. You don't change. Throughout your whole life, you're born in this caste, you don't change. There's no going up or down. You're stuck. I said, I'm not a Hindu. Right? Nobody over here is a Hindu. We all have free choice. Call it an upgrade, whatever. I'm not stuck in the same thing I was 40 years ago. Yeah, someone, I went to synagogue with many years ago. We helped run the services and there, whatever. This guy says, like, I feel very comfortable there. Very comfortable going back there, for the holy days or whatever. Like, feels like home. Feels like home. You know, that's more than 45 years later. How can the same thing feel like home 40 years later? They cut off the service. Whatever they do, doesn't matter. It hasn't changed that much. Sure, it hasn't changed that much. And what do you gain from it? So you say, you don't know, maybe the person's grown spiritually. Yeah, maybe. That's not what I'm hearing. But anyway, it's not the point. Right? What's the point? The point is the person should grow in spiritual terms. You don't stay the same. Who stays the same? So you say, if you're not growing in spirituality, then your personality really doesn't change that much. Depends what you've gone through. Right? There are people, let's say, when they were younger, very cynical, obnoxious, stuck up in this and that. And what happens when they get older? What will people say? They mellowed. They mellowed a little bit through age, through different things they've gone through. But did they really change? Deep down, did they change? Probably not. They're still stuck up. I don't think that's changed. Right? They still have the same similar personality. That hasn't changed. Certainly hasn't changed. Right? Says, hey, maybe it's a little bit less. Maybe it's not as obnoxious. Maybe it's not as out there as much. Okay. But practically speaking, the person changed? Same person. Same person. Someone told me a number of years ago. I made a comment. And they said, oh, that's the person I remember like when I was 12. That's the person I remember. You don't think I'm different? Personality is the same. Imagine what my personality was before. Yeah. Yeah, so we won't go there. But personality hasn't changed that much. I mean, it has in many ways, but the same personality, pretty much. So the question is, did a person really change or not? If the personality, is similar. So it depends what they've done. So, in my case, much more careful what I say. Right? Comes to Lashon Hara, comes to other things. Much more careful. That's big change. Huge change. Right? Cursing. Big change. Everybody curses. Right? In general, most people curse. Yeah? Also a big change. When you dress, other things, when you carry yourself, these are big changes. Now, I'm not going to say, no one out there ever changes. Ever, like no one ever changed. Can't say that. True, some people, have grown in certain ways. I would hope that would be the case. But I see people like doing the same thing 40 years later. That's pathetic. That is absolutely pathetic. People say that's what they want to do. You can't say anything against it. It's their lives. No one said you have to pray all day. Yeah, okay, but who says I pray all day? Yeah, how's I pray all day? In other ways. Yeah, but okay. Right? A big, big misnomer here. It's a huge misnomer. But, people will say things. And people will beat us down and will stick up for Torah and feel like what? Feel like you get slaughtered. Feel like people never speak to you. And that's okay. And that's normal. Yeah, I'm not saying it's the way it should be, but that's the way it is. 100%. Right? That, some people have it easier, some people have it harder, right? But I think clear as day, it's gonna happen to everybody. Right? Right? It's going to happen to everybody. Family at some point and friends will go by the wayside. That's just what's going to happen. They can be lonely, 100%. But it shouldn't be, in theory, that when a person stands up for Torah, they get clobbered for it. It shouldn't be that way. But you see, other people who are going to consider them evil for many things that they do, they don't care. They have no morals. Care what they say. Don't care what they do. People will say, this is who I am, deal with it. What are people like that? They don't care. one way or the other. You say, well, I'm offended by the way you speak. I'm trying to work on myself not to curse. You know what they're going to do? They're going to curse more. They don't care. Care what you think. Care what you do. Now, that's demoralizing. Because, I gave up my life for this. And I have to fight against the world. Yeah, you do. Right? So we're no different than Avram Avinu. Why? Because Avram Avinu, right, it's called, in the Torah, it's called Avram HaIvri. So big mistranslation, they'll say, oh, Abraham the Jew. Ivri, Jew. No. That's not what it means. First of all, he wasn't Jewish. If you tell me he kept the Torah before it was given, okay. Yeah, the patriarchs kept it before it was given, whatever that means. But it wasn't Jewish, technically. So what does it mean? What does the word ayin beis resh mean? A little bit of grammar here. It means on the other side. Like Ava Hayarden, the other side of the Jordan, which, one point will be part of, Greater Israel one day. It should happen soon. But it means the other side. What does it mean, the other side? It means Abraham's on one side of the world and everyone else against him. Right? Everyone, had their pocket God. Here's Bob, don't leave home without him. Right? Everyone has their own pocket God. And they ask him, like, have you seen God? He says, no. Has he ever spoken to you? No. But I know he exists by a world of design. There's a world of design, there must be a designer. And he convinced the world. And he convinced the masses. Right? He worked with the men, Sarah worked with the women. But he's on the other side of the world. He had to fight against the world. Right? What's the first test? He stood up to Nimrod. And what did Nimrod do? He think it was so nice, smart out of a kid, threw him in a fiery furnace. Survived that. Then there was a famine. Right? And his wife is taken. Then he has to fight, the 5 world powers. Get back his only remaining relative Lot. Right? Then you get the binding of Isaac. You get circumcision. You get all these tests. Right? It's like, wow, what a covenant. Right? God's like, you like my covenant? What a covenant. But the fact that he was able to survive all these things and have such a legacy, we say, Ma'aseh Avosim Labanim. The actions of our forefathers are assigned to the children. What does that mean? It means the fact that what he went through and the hardship he went through, and he was able to overcome at very high levels, he put in the world for all his offspring to be able to do that also. So you say, come on, simple person, relatively. I'm not Avram Avinu. I'm not at that level. I'm not even close. Good. But the struggles that we go through are no different than what he went through. You're going to say, oh, well, look what he went through. He had a very hard time. Look what Yaakov goes through. He's got to go through Lavan. He's got to fight with his brother. I mean, deal with Dinah. Everything happened with Yosef. He didn't have an easy life. Right? King David didn't have an easy life. Right? It's not an easy life, period. And there are struggles. When their wives struggle with fertility. Sarah was never supposed to have kids, right? According to nature, God had to change her nature, at a very old age. But a lot of things, a lot of struggles, they went through. Say, well, what we go through is pale in comparison to them. So, it depends how we look at it. We have our own struggles that are hard. Even if we live in a cream puff generation, doesn't matter. Struggles are hard, whatever they are. Right? We always say, whether it's livelihood, whether it's health, whether it's dealing with family. But a person can easily make the claim and say, change my life, change the way I think about things, the way I act, different things. And all we get is smacked upside the head. People say things, they don't have respect, all kinds of things. Good. Right? Why do I say good? Because that's all part of the test. Am I going to stick to it? Am I going to keep it? Doesn't mean, would it be so easy if everything was, if God made life so easy? No one ever got sick. Anyone who turns to him, they get what they want. Plenty of money, plenty of food, kids go in the right direction, beautiful relationship with everybody. Sure, everyone's going to sign up. Everybody and their mother would sign up. Why not? Better life. Much better life. You choose God, everything goes good. Now, if I were to take a survey, I would say clear as day, most people have not had a smooth ride. Yeah, I would say everybody has not had a smooth ride in many ways. And to boot, they probably had it worse. So before I went on this path, I had a good job, other things were going good, everything was great. I decided to want to become close to God and do what he says, and totally change my life. And every last thing has gone sour. Everything's gone sour. I can say everything, but a lot of things have gone sour. I hear this all the time. Being a non-Jew or being a secular Jew had it easier. Had it much easier. So God dealt with you in a different way. Now that you want to come close to him, yeah, guess what? There's payback. There's obligation. I'm in a different game now. Right? Give an example. Use a baseball parable. Yeah. It's like being in double A. When a person's like holding nowhere in the world, right? They're not even double A. They're in single A, right? Anyone who knows, right? You go from single A to double A, then you go to triple A, then you get to the majors, right? That's how it works in American baseball. Yeah, so you have to go like up 3-4 levels to get to the majors. Some people don't make it to the majors, or some people make it very late. Some people spend 6-7 years in the minors, right? So they're like 27, 28. They finally make it to the majors the first time. But some people don't even get there, right? So if you're holding nowhere in the world, right, in my language, you're starting out at single A ball. That's where you are. You're at single A ball. Okay. It's like the king's way up here, and you're way down here, and you're like the ball boy, the water carrier, right? You're not doing anything significant in the world. God deals with you in a totally different way. Now all of a sudden you see the lights, right? Your soul's been illuminated. Now you understand such a thing as Torah mitzvahs, whether it's a Jew or a non-Jew, doesn't matter. And what happens? Now it's a different world. Now it's a different world. You're not, now you started out, where are you? You started out, you were in single A. Right? You were in single A. Now all of a sudden, stop keeping kosher. Right? Start keeping Shabbos, right? As a Jew. Right? You start doing other things. You work on speaking Lashon Hara. Over time, you go up to double A. Yeah, the more you do, the holidays you keep, and this and that, you're learning, slowly you move up to triple A. Yeah. Then at a certain point, you make it to the majors. Because now you're a complete package. Now you understand. You've been through the cycle. You understand. Now when you're in the majors, different ball game. Much harder. Much, much harder. Now, why is that? Because you took step by step by step by step, right? Let's say you took 4 steps here. You took 4 steps and now you're closer to the king. Once you're there, closer to the king, everything changes. But you can say it's not fair. Most of the world, the most important question, at least in America, the most important question people ask, I put ketchup, mustard, or relish on my hot dog. That's where people are holding. That's where people are holding. But you want to be close to the king? Right, says the Korban Aaron, that's what happened to Nadav and Avihu. They're very close to the king. Whatever they did wrong, at their level, they got killed for it. They absolutely got killed. So a person will say, I'm taking these steps. I'm working hard, to perfect myself, to reach perfection. Very good. And what happens? Chaos. Absolute chaos. Livelihood goes, health issues, family issues, all these things seemingly all at once. Doesn't happen in a vacuum. Sometimes it happens little by little, whatever, right? But bam, person hit with so many things. Friends, families, health, livelihood, all these things. Could be all at once, overload. What can a person say? God, it's a beautiful covenant. It's beautiful. What are you doing to me? Why do I deserve to be less than a dog? Being treated less than a dog. Nobody wants me, and they make fun of me, And a person's going to scream out, it's not fair. It's not fair. Well, there are people that have had it very hard. Yeah, but their emunah, their faith and belief in God is strong, unbelievably strong no matter what happens. But they wouldn't have been that strong at all, even this cream puff generation, had they not been, gone through a wash machine cycle. Had they had they not gone through that and feel like, they're just getting wringed out, so to speak, what happens? It's a different world. See, if you don't have the ability, to deal with, adversity, what if people don't have God in their life? That's all just bad luck. Everything's just bad luck. This happened, that happened, right? Like Amalek doesn't believe in supernatural. How do they deal with it? Prozac. Yeah, maybe they're in therapy, maybe not. Maybe, they're abusing things. It's drugs, alcohol, just to get through life. That's what God wants. It's absolutely not what he wants. Because that's how I deal with life. But if you don't have the proper perspective, then you'll be an addict of something. And I think that's very clear, because no matter what happens, how are you going to deal with it? So we have Musar, we have Jewish philosophy. We have people that go to guidance, get guidance from, get built up, hopefully, by other people. But if you don't have that, how would a secular person or a non-Jew deal with, adversity or severe adversity? Right? Well, not, they don't believe in God, so it's no supernatural, so they can't explain it. Or maybe they, no atheist in a foxhole, they'll say, it's God's fault and God is evil and God is bad and this and that. And just, I gotta be a good person, I gotta do what I need to do, and whatever happens, happens. That's what they have to say. Because everything is random. They're not in control. They may think they're in control, but they're not in control. Not in control. All of a sudden, something happens. Something can happen overnight, turn your life upside down. Many ways. But someone who's not working on themselves, who doesn't understand the bigger picture, something could happen, they go to pieces. Now I'm going to say, but an Orthodox Jew could also go to pieces. Could also have it hard. I'm not saying they don't. Could also have it hard. We got thousands of years of Jewish philosophy and Muslim to be able to deal with it. Now, it's not going to solve everything. The person may need to go to therapy also. Right? I think it's a very good start, though, because you have a proper perspective. There are ways to look at it properly, even maybe without therapy, but it's not going to solve everything. There are people that have, we've mentioned before, people have chemical imbalance, people with bipolar. Torah's not going to will that. Can't fix that, per se. Person needs to be on proper medication. Someone schizophrenic, same thing. Right? They need to be on proper medication and under the guide of a psychologist. Right? Torah cannot fix that. Torah's not like a thing like all of a sudden I believe in it and everything goes away. All my problems go away. That's also a mistake. Torah has the ability to heal. That's true. It has the ability to change a person, to change their personality. Yeah? Because we understand the bigger picture. We understand what we're supposed to do. Yeah, true. But for certain things, it's not 100% going to fix it. I would say maybe 60% it can fix. Maybe 70%, depends what it is. Right? But how can, willing Torah and living, learning Musar and changing and working on themselves, that's great. How does that help a chemical imbalance? That can't help a chemical imbalance. Because your body's going in 20 different directions. So understanding Torah and what it is and what it should do cannot help that. Now, it could be, right medication takes care of it. Torah can help with the rest. Okay. But certain things, no. Certain things they may have to go through therapy. It's not going to fix it. 100% it's not going to fix it. Right? But it's a much better perspective. I don't think there's any question. Much better perspective. But at the same time, in certain ways, it's limited. It is limited. But, if it's not so extreme, proper guidance can fix the person, change their perspective, change the way they look at things, right? And see things in the bigger picture. Now, that's not so easy. Because even if you do that, you have to have certain techniques, right, in order for that to be fixed. It's not going to be fixed 100%, but a way to look at it, and a way to see it. Comes to family relationships, much easier in a certain way, right? We're not talking about abuse, other things, but whatever, there's negativity there, let's say, right? It's probably a lot of negativity. So now, before a person comes to Torah mitzvahs, maybe it's easier in other ways. Okay. It comes to Torah mitzvahs, now it makes it bad. I mean, it's kind of toxic, right? Let's say, right? So now it makes it kind of toxic. Now the question is, how do I deal with it? And how do I look at it? Now, there are ways seeing the bigger picture, that can certainly help a person, no matter what they say. You can say it's cruel, it's underhanded, it's below the belt, it's this, it's that. You're right. Probably say a million things that are bad and make you feel like a piece of dirt. But I will tell you, if that person is mentally challenged, I shouldn't say it's funny, it's not so funny, but, sometimes I'm on a bus and, there'll be this woman that's, whatever, she's mentally challenged. And make sure she gets off the bus, make sure you yell and scream, get out of my way, I need to get out, this, that, okay? Everyone kind of looks, they see who she is. She's mentally challenged. Now, it's kind of annoying. Kind of annoying. You hear someone screaming in a bus, to get out, or screaming in general for, why is pushing up against me? Why is this? Why is it trying? Okay. It can grate on a person. Well, the person's got the IQ of a 5-year-old. They have an IQ of a 5-year-old. Am I going to care? Right? Am I going to care whatsoever that this person, is yelling and screaming and saying these things? Who cares? They're mentally challenged. 100% they're mentally challenged. I'm not going to say it's not necessarily annoying, but you have a different perspective. Why do you have a different perspective? Yeah, because the person's not normal. If the person would be normal and they're saying these things and doing these things, they make us feel bad and all this, okay, that I can hear. 100% that I could hear. They seem normal. They're making me feel bad, making me feel guilty, other thing, whatever it is. Okay. But why do I have to look at them just because they're quote unquote normal? Why do I have to look at them like they're normal? In the Torah's eyes. In the Torah's eyes, they're nothing. Torah's eyes, you gotta treat them with respect, to a certain extent. But what do I care if a 5-year-old says something? If they have a PhD, pilot higher and deeper, or Papa has dough, so what? So let them say. And I think, this is terrible, and and the Jews, they should let Gaza do whatever they want, and it's, they're committing genocide. Jews can say this. Leftists will say that. I'm like, really? You really know what's going on? Most people don't, but at the end of the day, you'll say, yeah, it's annoying. What do I care what a 5-year-old says? Best advice I was ever given. What do I care what a 5-year-old says? Shouldn't matter. They deserve to be in an insane asylum. Literally. They're insane. They're insane. To think there's more than 2 genders. That's insanity. It's insanity. No, it's supposed to be binary. They're this. It's insanity. That's all it is. Going to try and convince me that, that's normal. And you have women dressed up as, men dressed up as women and breaking all kinds of records in women's sports. That's insanity. Total insanity. Now, people can say, no, you don't understand. It's not really, it's not really a guy. It's it. It's just arguing. You're arguing with a brick. Less than a brick. I'm getting offended with what I say. Yeah. Did you ever hear Rosa Parks? Yeah, I have. But that's not why women sit separately from men. It's not about discrimination. It's about modesty and having respect for women. That's the answer. That's it. Done. But isn't that an annoying comment? Yes, it is. It's an annoying comment. But we feel like, I have to answer this, I have to answer that. Like someone I said once, I got stuck in the bathroom at a door at a key that got jammed. And it got jammed in the lock. So I made it, as a passing comment. I said, yeah, I couldn't even pray. But you can't pray in the bathroom, even there's nothing disgusting there. Right? So the person turned around and said, is that against one of the rules? Right? You hear the animosity there? Isn't that, we're making fun, not even animosity. Isn't that against one of the rules? My answer was, yeah, it is. That's it. It's against one of the rules. Ended conversation. Sit there, get excited. No, what are you talking about? Why are you making fun? I could have answered a lot of things. Waste of time. Person's gonna make fun. Answered it 1 second. Boom. No, it's not. Oh, okay. Right? Sorry, it is. It's one of the rules. Happy? It's one of the rules. That's it. There's no other further conversation. Right? They made their statement. You answered them. Good. But it doesn't get under your skin. Right? It's good enough to use an example in a class. Sit there and waste my time thinking about it? Or doesn't know the alphabet. People that don't know the alphabet have never learned. I can take what they say seriously. Even though you have to show like, they say something. You have to show like you respect it. Okay. If they're making fun or whatever. But they know nothing. To feel intimidated by them. Yeah, it's one thing, you want to tell me something Tanakh, you'll catch me on, or something else. Okay, plenty of things I need to learn better. Very good. But I'm going to care what they have to say about Judaism and never studied a lick. They know nothing. Take what they say seriously? Come on. Oh, I would never believe in this and that. Well, it's actually 40% of the Torah has actually been proven, right? First 2 books of the Bible for sure have been proven. So what? Whatever. There's no conversation there. No conversation because no one's interested in being intellectually honest because then they have to change, right? Which we mentioned many times. Well, what do I care what they think? Yeah. And people say, so many Orthodox Jews, they have too many kids. Well, that's our answer to the Holocaust. And we're going to raise a whole generation of Orthodox Jews to save Judaism. And each kid is its own mitzvah. Oh, those poor women. Those poor women, that's what people will say. Yeah, like Rudolf Weinberg said to somebody once, who's the head of Aish Torah, Jerusalem, blessed memory. Rav Noach, blessed memory, Aish Torah is still going strong. So he asked somebody, what's your greatest pleasure? First thought about it, he goes, my kids. He goes, what's the greatest source of your aggravation? He thought, first thought about it, he said, my kids. Right? It goes both ways. It's like, okay, let's go back to gratification. You said that the greatest, your greatest pleasure is your kids. Very good. How many kids do you have? So he goes, 1. So Noah says, what's the matter? Too much pleasure? Right? People have 2 kids if they're lucky. People want to have a next generation. Right? Not everyone merits it, but people want to have, a next generation. Okay. But, if that's your greatest pleasure, right, let's say, you say, okay, within reason. Who says I have to have 10? Who says I have to have 8? Okay, you can get a discussion about procreation. Yeah, and what it is and what it represents and this and that. Yeah. That woman doesn't have to say. Of course she has to say. She has a bunch of little kids. She can't get permissibility to, not to have kids for a while or however long. Psychologically, it'd be a problem, let's say. Okay. I'm not giving blanket permissibility here, in general, but, person has it hard. Person has it hard, yeah. So, they'll ask their own question, etc. It's too hard right now. Don't mean they're not going to have any other kids, but it's too hard. So the tiny comment I made wasn't so popular, but someone made a comment, in the ksuva, in the marriage document. So, someone said, jokingly or somewhat jokingly, they said, in the marriage document, it said you can only have 3. I think by the time I probably had 4 already. Well, let's say. So it only says 3. Or you're only supposed to have 3, let's say. So whatever, the person's kind of joking, sort of. Says, okay, which one should we murder? You pick one. You pick one. Which one should we murder? I'll get the knife. You tell me. Oh, no, what are you talking about? It's a beautiful kid. What? Yeah, because they didn't mean it like that. I know what they meant. Right? I'm not saying it's a good comeback. Right? Think about it. You always will have this money. Great. Which one do you want to murder? Which one should we have? Yeah, that's what the pain in the neck. Let's just throw them off a cliff. Let's just drive a car over them. Yeah? What's the problem? Come on, you're so morbid. You just said, I have too many, so get rid of one. Get rid of 2. Try 2 for 1. Yeah, it's probably a bad example. Wouldn't recommend people necessarily saying it, but you have too many kids. But I said, imagine that a person would come when my whole family's together, which you probably need earplugs for. 7 kids and 9 grandkids. It's pretty loud, right? That's pretty loud. Got like 20 people there, 21 people. We don't get together, with everybody, a lot. Not necessarily for that reason, just the way it works out. But still, when everyone's together, guess what? It's loud. So, like someone said, I can't imagine the noise. I said, get earplugs. And that's a beautiful thing to see. This is the next generation. They're raising the next generation. Going in the right direction. Teaching their kids what real Torah is. Oh, you have too many kids. Great. Which one should we slaughter? Which one should we get rid of? Because they're going to say it's cruel to have so many kids. Why? Because no one can give them that amount of attention. They're going to be lacking in attention, so we're going to work at that. Got to make sure kids get enough attention. Yeah? First, they could have 1 kid or 2 kids that don't get enough attention. Because the parents are so busy. A kid comes home, mother, father on their phones. They sort of look up, answer, like there's no connection or very little connection. So you can have that even with 1 kid, or 2 kids. They'll say, oh, no one can support so many kids. Well, guess what? God can support anybody. God's got a big bank, biggest bank in the world. And if he wanted you to suffer, even if you have 1 or 2 kids, you could also suffer. I know people like that also, 2 kids. That's all they could have. Whatever. Had it easier, had it harder. But people can struggle whether you have a lot of kids or not. How are you going to marry them off? God will take care of it. Takes care of it. Right, one of the biggest miracles in the world. How ultra-Orthodox Jews in Israel marry off their kids. Right? And, in all these wedding halls, when it's permissible to get married, they're all packed every night. Unbelievable. Yeah. Okay, housing shortage, other issues, okay, right? But that's how you're going to build the next generation. Because exactly how you're going to build it. It's not being selfish, and people are selfish. People are selfish. People make the claim, especially today, to have kids, way too expensive. Way too expensive. You're right. It's expensive. Food prices going up exponentially. Tuition is the biggest problem we spoke about last night in Pirkei Avos. Probably the biggest issue parents have. especially in the States. That's where most of the money goes. Even if both parents work, that's where it goes. So yeah, is it more expensive to lead an Orthodox life? Yeah, it is. Who wouldn't want to buy turkey for 33 cents a pound? Beautiful. Gonna spend 20 bucks a pound? I mean, come on. It's a little bit absurd, right? Definitely a little bit absurd. That's what people, that's what we'll do. Right? That's exactly what we'll do. A person wants to that's what a person's gonna do. Right? Very good. Very good. But if God wants you to struggle, even if you don't have kids, you'll struggle. It's not about having kids. Right? And then people say it's so cruel. I've heard this argument before. It's so cruel to have so many kids. You can't raise so many kids, give enough attention. But what if by the grace of God, your kids come out and turn out unbelievably? Now, people say you're lucky. Yeah, okay. Yeah. No guarantee. The only two guarantees in life are death and taxes, not necessarily in that order. You have to pray a lot for your kids, no question. The schools they go to, friends they have, plenty of things to pray for. See, in the secular world, if your kids come out like, really the right way, according to Torah and mitzvahs, they'll never say it's because of the way you brought them up. Because they can't. Why can't they? Because then they say, I must be doing something wrong. But again, it's not a guarantee. There is a dropout rate, unfortunately. There is a dropout rate for a number of reasons, not the topic here. Right? But people say, well, you and your wife must have done something right. Maybe a little bit had to do with education. Maybe. Yeah, and that is how they were raised. The values that are given. Yeah, I'll give an example. There's just read the Ten Commandments a couple weeks ago. There's a mitzvah, keep it up, honoring parents. Again, I'm not going to get into the parents are evil, whatever, but there's a mitzvah to honor parents. Honoring parents means you don't sit in their chair unless they allow you to. Honoring them means they walk in a room at least once a day, you have to stand up for them. Standing up for them shows honor, shows respect. They respect the older generation. So they treat the grandparents like gold, even if they're not religious. Because that's the obligation. That's what they're taught. That's the importance of the previous generation. Yeah. In secular world, not given those values. Not at all. Those values won't come into play. At all. Right? Famous stories of Yaakov Kavanetsky, of blessed memory. He was at the Shiva in Torah, I think. And he, when the Torah Giants, the last generation, was on an airplane and sitting next to somebody, and every few minutes, his grandkids come up and it's like, Zadie, Grandpa, can I get you this? Can I get you that? Like waiting on him hand and foot. And like this other guy says, like, how do you get them to do that? I think, see my grandkids like, birthdays, they want money, this, that. So he says, I'll tell you the truth. We believe that we're a link in a chain going back to Mount Sinai. So the older a person is, the closer they are to that link in the chain, going back to Mount Sinai. They believe, who do you descend from? A monkey. So who do they treat you like? A monkey. That's the difference. That's the difference. So people see. They see the difference. Person can have grandkids living near them, around them, they never hear from them. They barely ever see them. And they could have grandkids, thousands of miles away. They hear from them at least once a week or more. It's a big difference. It's a huge difference. But again, a person's never going to say, they're never going to say, well, you must have done something right. That they'll say. But it will never, ever be attributed to Torah. Parents have a huge obligation. Now, they are in school for long hours, boys for sure. Girls less, okay. But, most of the education comes from home, but they have to be trained. These things are not given to you. You have to teach. You have to teach the basic thing, honoring parents, a basic thing. In honoring grandparents and, helping them when they need to be helped, even if they don't need to be helped. That's a big difference. Yeah. Secular world, you see that? I don't think so. Not to this extent. You'll never see it to this extent. But they'll never say it comes from Torah. Right? 100%. Right? So that's, that's a big difference. But a person has to realize also, not just that, people say things and to look at them like they have a 25 IQ, okay. But I would say, at the same time, how are they looked at? How are they looked at over here? And even, a person has to realize that family member, even community people, whatever, that aren't Jews or secular, of course they're going to say things. Why doing this? Why doing that? Or whatever. A person shouldn't think they're going to get patted on the back by friends, by family, just the opposite. That pat in the back is going to hit you upside the head. Also, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got. And that is, we want to impress people. We want to please people. We want to show them the beauty of Torah. They don't want, okay. They don't want. But you see, you've worked on yourself, you've changed, you worked on this, you worked on that, you worked on the other thing. Very good. Right? That's huge. But the thing, someone's going to pat you on the back because of it. And someone's going to say, oh, what a great thing. Right? What a great thing. It's a different issue. That you probably never get. And that you shouldn't expect. Right? Even though I grew up hearing this all the time, because of what people do to other people, they'll say, expect nothing, whatever you get is a bonus. Right? In other words, zero expectation. It's not a Jewish concept. Totally not a Jewish concept. Right? It's kind of an annoying statement. Right? But that's how a person protects himself. Because they'll say, well, if I don't have any expectations, I won't get hurt. I won't get burned. Good. It's not life, though. You're just like putting up block. Right? That's what some people do. Because, it's too painful. Right? But if you have no expectations, good. They don't expect anything. There's no reason to expect anything either way. Right? But at the same time, in this process, where the secular Jew becomes religious or, an non-Jew stays in no-hide or converts, family, friends, they're going to pat you on the back. They're going to think you're a wacko. Right? They're going to think, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And why can't, hey, rabbi, you have to always ask your rabbi what to do. You can't think for yourself. What are you, in a cult or this or that? Sometimes the person has to hear it. Sometimes they have to take it. Okay. But you have to see where it's coming from. Now, for some people, it might be coming from deep concern. From love. It might be misplaced a little bit because they really want to help you. They want to save you. Beautiful. They don't want to, they don't want to see you be, a slave to this and to that and, be so restricted. They think they're helping you. But at the same time, they're causing other problems. Right? So, a person, I would say, shouldn't expect anything. Just the opposite. You should never expect a family member or a friend or whatever is going to say what you're doing is the right thing. This is the right way of life. No one's going to say that. I got people who would say, no question. You got a beautiful family, this, that, but you're still a wacko. It's still a life I would never choose. Okay. Right? But that, it's kind of like a backhanded compliment. When you think about it, but what do these people have in their lives? What do they have? They have nothing. Right? As I mentioned last night in Pirkei Avos, what do I care what they say? Or what do I care what they have? What's the difference? That shouldn't affect the person. Should have zero effect. Sometimes you'll tell me it's painful. Good. It's painful. But if you look at them like they're absolutely out of their minds, not so painful. Painful where it's coming from. I get it. But it's not as painful when you think that they're just out of their minds, right? They just need to, they just have the IQ of a 5-year-old. Yeah, I want to take some questions here. Somebody asks, about the next world. Will we understand everything else around us during the judgment? Yeah. Yeah, everything's going to be clear, like the Matrix. Everything intertwined. We're going to see, this person said this, they wanted you to do this, and God wanted you to answer like this, and other things, whatever. Everything's intertwined. I'll tell you what's worse is that everyone's going to know what you've done. This is a lot worse. When you're in the confines of your own, your own place, your own room, this and that, you think, okay, like who's going to see me? Right? That shows the person has more fear of man than God, but okay. But in the end, when a person's a soul and they leave their body and the person dies, the body dies, everybody's going to know in that world what you've done. It's not just, okay, these angels are going to bring all the things you did, right? Not just that, right? I would say that's not so bad. That's not necessarily so bad. Yeah, what's worse? Right? What would I say is worse? What's worse is that you're in that world and everybody knows what you've done because there's absolute clarity. A different level of understanding. Yeah, a different level of clarity over here. So you think, okay, these angels come, they testify, it's between you and God, whatever. However God judges it, but the whole spiritual world knows. They all know. It's even worse. Because, all these souls are intertwined different ways. So again, a person will think, well, God's going to judge it. These angels come, very good, and that's it. Well, halavai, that would be it. It's also a level of embarrassment. Not just for what you did, but the fact that everyone else knows about it. Everyone in the spiritual world knows. Right? So the question is, are you going to understand everything else around us during the judgment? Yes. You're going to know it, but you're going to know what other people did also. Because, oh, great. Know all these juicy things as a pure soul. Okay. Yeah. But you're going to see what happened. God's going to show you the clear picture. Right? How everything was intertwined. Why people did what they did, or how God orchestrated it, and how he reacted. Yeah. And if that is the case, part 2, if this is the case, won't this actually show that all we did was good? Oh, no. Oh, no. Don't make that mistake. Right? They're going to see the good and the bad. Right? The good they'll see. That's true. But don't think they won't see the bad. That the bad is only between you and God. Everybody's going to know what you did. You're hovering around in the spiritual world, however that works, and everyone can see right through you. Kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's like an amoeba. They can see all your DNA and everything you've done. Not just God knows. And the angels give testimony, that write everything down. Everybody knows. They'll know the good. They'll know the acts of loving kindness. They'll know the mitzvahs you did. And they're going to know the bad. So, we're all toast in different ways. Right? Some more, some less. As it all came from Hashem as the original cause. So, we're being tested. Remember, God put the soul into man. Man doesn't have a choice. God put the soul into man. Now, why did he put the soul into this person and not that person, right? Right, a man, a woman, whatever. Because the Mishnah Pirkei Avos says, you're born against your will, you die against your will. Kaplan would say in parentheses, you still have to live. Very good. But what happens? Do we have a choice who our parents are? No. Do we have a choice who our siblings are? No. Do we have a choice socioeconomic situation? No. No choice in any of these things. None. But God put the soul into that body. Why? Because God feels or felt that that body is going to help this soul reach its potential, reach its greatest potential. We may look at it and say, why are they stuck in this body? Why was I stuck in this family? I get this question all the time. Why do I have to deal with this or deal with that? I don't have an answer. It's part of what the soul has to go through. But God knows what he's doing. Yeah, it's kind of ironic. I'll give you an example. Give myself as an example. Yeah. So, coming back to Judaism, it's kind of ironic that most people I deal with, I mean, there are Jews I deal with also, right? But most of the people I deal with are non-Jews. I got many, many people in my own family that are non-Jews. It's not their fault. They married Jews. It's a Jew's fault. Okay. So I would say it's part of God's irony in many ways. Or I should say in some ways, that, he helped me gain all this knowledge and continue to grow in spirituality. And I can help everyone else except myself. So you could ask the $1 million question, and that is why? Why? Yeah, if you gave me certain talent, gave me certain ability, and I can help others, why is it when it comes to family, it's slammed shut? Why? So sometimes the Gemara says, person's in a situation they can't take themselves out of their own prison. Meaning they can do other things, but they're stuck in other ways. Now, wouldn't it make sense that, a person has this ability to be able to influence family? Family are the hardest people to influence. Why is that? Very simple, because they see you as you were before, years ago. Or they'll remember you as a little kid. Or they'll remember you as, I don't know, going off on this or going off on that, so they turned off. Whatever it is. Family's very hard. You can tell them something, they won't listen and they'll make fun and whatever. Someone else can say something not related to you. No connect, they might be connected to you, doesn't matter. Right? But not family related. And they make a much bigger impression. And they're able to hear it. Why? Because they have too much of a bias against their sibling, against their family member. They don't want to hear it. Because they can't look at them in that way. Or if someone, let's say, is the youngest child, doesn't matter, 2 years younger, 5 years younger, whatever. You could be 70, an older sibling could be 75. Could be 80, could be anywhere in between. And they're looking at you as the youngest. Anyone who's the youngest understands this. No matter what they say, you're the youngest. And they'll always look at you like that and treat you like that. Again, I'm not saying it's right. You're not an equal by any stretch. You're younger. I'm not even talking about a twin a few seconds later. You're younger, period. Why does it take what you see seriously? But I'm not a 5-year-old. Definitely not a 5-year-old, at least not the last time I checked. I mean, gray hair for a reason. But someone is the youngest, no one listens to them because they're the youngest. It's just kind of the way it is. But even so, family's very hard. I told somebody something once, and of course, they're not going to listen to me. Fine. A month later, a few weeks later, they mentioned the exact same thing that I had said. They read it in the newspaper articles. They said it must, of course, it's in the holy newspaper. It must be true. I said, yeah, but I told you that 2 weeks ago. They know you didn't. I said the exact same thing. And now you read it on the internet, you read it on the newspaper, you say it's God's, it's like the Bible. It's like the Holy Bible. Meaning what you say doesn't matter. We don't care what you have to say. I saw in the newspaper must be true. All right? Family's very hard. Right? Very, very hard. That's also a struggle. It also comes from God himself. because he puts the soul in the body in order for the soul to reach its greatest potential. That body has the ability to help the soul reach its greatest potential. Now, if a person's a reincarnated soul, I mentioned this last week, if a person's a reincarnated soul, someone asks the question, which body gets up at resurrection if you get up at resurrection? Good question. Very, very good question. Right, so it's a different body than we understand, but the way it was explained to me was the body that helped the soul the greatest to reach its potential. That's the body that gets up. Now, how do we know? There's no idea. In our physical bodies today, how do we know this is the body's going to get up if it gets up at resurrection? Nobody knows. How do I know we did whatever we could and more to help the soul reach its potential? We don't. It doesn't really matter because the soul is just in a casing of the body. Very good, but the soul and the body go hand in hand. So if this body that we're in helped the soul in a major way to reach its true perfection, then technically that body should get up at resurrection. Even if it's a different type of body, doesn't matter. But no one's ever going to know that. And no one knows what other type of body we had either. So again, it's really a moot point. It's an interesting question, right? It had no relevance, but it's kind of a moot point. But I would say, when you look at it, we're having enough trouble just surviving in this world. I was talking to someone earlier. Everyone has difficulty. Everybody, whether it's livelihood, family, all these things, everything between. Everybody has it. But we've been given a mission. And what's the mission? Good question also. How do we know what our purpose is? Yeah. How do we know what we're here to fix? Even better. Right? We'll phrase it like that. So as the ones explained to me, I'm not saying it's the answer. Possibly could be. Think about what you would never do in 100,000 years. Something that's like so impossible for you to do. You'd rather slit your eyeballs with glass than do it. Maybe it would be like you did something wrong in someone, I don't know, major or minor, whatever, and actually going to apologize and to say, I'm sorry, right? Or, as we'll quote Happy Days, right? The Fonz would never say it. Right? You couldn't say it, right? You couldn't say, I'm sorry. So then maybe that's what he had to work on. I don't know, right? It's only a TV show, so it doesn't matter, right? It's all make-believe anyway. But maybe someone, that's their hardship. That's something very, very hard for them. Or maybe someone did a favor for them, and it's very, very hard for them to show gratitude. In other words, why don't they want to show gratitude? Not that the person didn't do them a favor. Now they feel they owe them. They're subservient to them. So they don't want to be. You have to show gratitude. Right? The Bible says, gave a reflection, unbelievable thing. He said, even if someone did something to help you, yeah, he did something to help you. In the sense where why did he do it? He did it because he wanted to look good. He wanted to get honor, right? Politicians do it all the time, right? They show up at things to show that they really care, which probably they don't, or probably sometimes they don't, let's say. Yeah, but why do they do it? Because they want people to see them in that light. They want people to see that they're there, that they care for them, they feel for them. If they did other things wrong, doesn't matter, right? All the Bible says, an unbelievable thing. He says, if a person did it for ulterior motives, you're going to be the poster child for them. And they're going to be looking like, God's gift to the world. They're going to come out smelling like an absolute rose over here. But they're doing it for ulterior motives. They're doing it to give themselves a good name. Fame, right? Honor. They're doing it for any bad reason. They have ulterior motives. Says the Chovos HaLevavos, but they helped you. 100% they helped you. Even if it was for a for a photo op. That they can show the world. Look what I did over here. Look how I helped this person. But they only did it for one reason. They did it for themselves. For ego. Or ego, as we would say here in Israel. Right? Do it for ego. For honor. But did they help you? In the end, bottom line, did they help you? They helped you. Says the Chos of Avos, even if someone did that for ulterior motives, 100% Torah obligation, got to be thankful. You got to give them credit for what they did. Now you're going to say, you have to come picking head. This person did it because of ego. He didn't do it for me. Right? 100%. I know a person did something, did something for someone, and, they say, well, I did it for ulterior motives. Sorry. I did it, I did it to help this person. They didn't do it to help the person. Maybe they did. Maybe that's part of the reason. What was the other reason? The other reason was because it's worth money. You're not going to throw away something that's worth money. It's worth a lot of money. So you're right. You wanted to help that person. True. You get credit. Right? It comes to fruition. You help them. 100%. You get credit for it. Right? But that's not the only reason. Right? There's another reason here. And the other reason is you're not going to throw something away that you could get later and it's worth, mucho plata, right? It's worth a lot of money. Right? I'm not going to say that's the only reason here. But that's definitely a good part of it. Right? So, on the one hand, they're doing it for your sake to help you. Good. Right? Partially that's true. That may be true. Give the person the benefit of the doubt. I'm in generous mood here. Right? We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. What's the real reason? What's the main reason? Guilt. Money. That's the reason. Yeah, it's ulterior motive. But let's say it would come to fruition. And now that person gets this big chunk of money. They absolutely have a Torah obligation to thank the person for doing it. Torah obligation. You might say this person had ulterior motives. Good. You might say they had absolute ulterior motives. Yes. 100%. Because they didn't just do it for you. They did it for money as well. That's probably the main reason. Yeah, but you have to thank them. Says the Chofetz Levavos, you have an absolute obligation to thank them. Even if they did it for ulterior motives. Mind-boggling. So let's say a person has difficulty. Thank you, people. For minor things they've done. Or even major things, even better. Because they don't want to feel subservient to them. They don't want to feel, let's say better, beholden to them. There are people like that. They don't want to feel they owe anybody anything. And because of that, what happens? I'm not saying they're going to be an ingrate. One of the worst character traits to have is not to show gratitude, to be an ingrate. So maybe someone's potential is the fact that that's what they're here to fix. Because that's a very, very hard thing to do for them. Not going to say impossible, but it's very hard. Because they have to go against, everything inside of them not to do it. That's why I say they'd rather slit their eyeballs with glass than do it, because they don't want to have to go through that. Why? Because the person feels humiliated. They absolutely feel humiliated. But the person helped them. Very good. Right? They feel, they feel that they were helped. Okay. So you have to have a karas hatov. You have to have gratitude. And you have to show gratitude. But it's not, how do you show gratitude if someone's like smug about it? It's like, don't forget I helped you here. They rub it in your nose. They rub it in your nose, you wouldn't be here, wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for me. You have to acknowledge that. You can put that person in a place in other ways, right? But 100%, you have to say, you're right. I don't care if the person's smug. You have to say, you're right. Thank you very much. You helped me tremendously, changed my life. I owe you a lot. There's no question. No question. They can throw other things out. Oh, what about God? You know, I helped you this, that. Okay, it goes further. Yeah, but let's say it doesn't go that far. You have to show gratitude. Now, for some people, that might be very hard. Very, very hard. Or for other people, let's say they do something wrong, they have to admit they did something wrong. So go back to Arthur Fonzarelli, right? Doesn't want to admit does anything wrong, doesn't want to say he's sorry. For him, that was the hardest thing to do. There are people like that also. They don't want to say they're sorry. Or they, whatever. It's very hard. Again, I'm not saying it's the reason they were put in this world. But if you think about it, this is a very hard thing. Whatever it is, anyone fill in the blank for themselves. Whatever the hardest thing, one of the hardest things for them to do in general, now again, I won't be misquoted here. I'm not saying it's the reason that a person was brought in this world. Could be. Could very well be, as was explained to me. And if you perfect that and work on it and, and embellish it and whatever, that could be what you're here to fix. But it's not going to be something easy. Don't make that mistake. Don't think, oh, what I'm here to fix, it should be easy to do. It ain't going to be easy to do. But the problem is you don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. They're going to say it's unfair, right? This angel taught us Torah, gave us all this information, but we're not going to know what it's there for. The soul is not going to know. So it's one way of looking at it, and I would say a person cannot rest on their laurels. You have to keep growing. You have different challenges, right? Someone came to Moshe Schneider, Rebbe's Rebbe, once asked him, a yeshiva student asked him, I want a blessing. He said, what's a blessing? What blessing do you want? He says, I want to bless everything should go glatt. What does glatt mean? Smooth. Everything should go smooth. He said, I can't give you a blessing like that. It's a blessing in vain. He said, I give you a blessing. You have challenges, right? You have challenges, trials, and tribulations. I give you a blessing. You'll be able to overcome them. That's a real blessing. And everybody has it. Sometimes it's harder. Sometimes it's easier, right? But if we don't know what that ultimate challenge is, what the true potential is, are you resting on your laurels? No. You're you can start from the lowest level and build and build and build and build, right? You have different trials and tribulations year in and year out. If a person, when it comes to Yom Kippur, if they're beating their chest for things they've done, they did last year and the year before, right? And all that, they haven't really grown from it. They haven't had new challenges, that's bad. That means they haven't grown. Yeah, if we're hitting our hearts, on Yom Kippur, and we're repenting for new challenges, doesn't mean we get rid of all the old challenges. But if we're hitting ourselves for new challenge that we have, that's spiritual growth. That is spiritual growth. That's a good thing. I mean, a person shouldn't sin anyway, but if they're sinning, doing things they haven't done before, or at different levels or whatever it may be, but it's not the same as what they did last year, that's a sign of growth. But if they're just hitting themselves for what they did last year and the year before, they haven't changed, they haven't grown, that's bad. Right? We're not staying on an even escalator. We're not going like this. Right? That's, that is called mediocrity. No one's striving for mediocrity. Either you're going up or you're going down. Right? And I have this ringing in my ears because every time I say that, I hear someone say, I'm good. Yeah. I don't need more classes. I don't need this. Yeah, I'm good. That means you're spiritually dead. That's what it means. It means you don't want to change. Now, change is hard. A person wants to change, it's not so easy. Right? That's true. Right? But you have to want. You have to desire it. Right? King Solomon says you have to want Torah more than diamonds, rubies, gold. But Torah is one of three things hard to acquire. Right? With the land of Israel and Omab. Those are three things that are hard to acquire. They got to work hard. People want it easy. We want to do things by osmosis. It doesn't work. It's day in and day out. It's a grind. You new day, different things. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's not. There are horrific things going on in the world. The person has to hold on for dear life. It's absolute craziness. And saw an absolute miracle. There was a whole bunch of buses that were supposed to blow up, and supposed to be a whole nother terror attack, like on October 7th. And they blew up at the wrong time. Instead of, I think I mentioned this yesterday. Instead of being blown up at 9 in the morning, which would have caused unbelievable damage, right? Rush hour and who knows what. It was only going to be used as a decoy, absolute decoy, right? Because then when you had all these first responders or whatever coming, so then you had all these Arabs coming from the West Bank that could just flood different communities, start killing people. Unbelievable that the whole thing got thwarted. They went off at the wrong time. I mean, I know it's like the clocks are pretty clear. I didn't make a mistake between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. It's kind of a big difference. I mean, like you got a big clock in front of you. It's I don't know. It's like I always say, either you're dealing with the stupidest people in the world, which is a possibility, or God runs the world. It's like one or the other. Like, how do you make such a mistake? That was only a decoy. That was only an absolute decoy. Because what was really supposed to happen afterwards could have caused a lot more damage. A lot more damage. That was just a distraction. So, we're living in very troubling times. Very, very troubling times. And a person has to have, this is the test of this generation. The test is emunah. In so many different things. We're going to see so many things we don't understand. Yeah. These children, babies killed, strangled, right? Then, they made their bodies damaged. They want to make it sound like they got bombed. Horrific. Absolutely horrific. Like I say, people are animals. They're absolute animals. Children are an obstacle to peace. Zionists are nothing from nothing. No offense to any kids out there. They are nothing. Rip them to shreds. It's part of war. Come on. Because they're animals. They're absolute animals. But you got to see divine providence here also. Right? It's unbelievable divine providence here. Okay, they didn't get saved. Make matters worse. Their mother, they sent out, another body, wasn't hers. When they did forensic testing. So now, whatever, it seems like they got the body now. But they make a whole spectacle of it. So now Netanyahu said no more. You make a spectacle, forget it. We're not releasing terrorists. We'll see where that goes. But it's horrific. Put him on stage. This, that. It's the absolute humility. Humiliation. We have kids looking at coffins. Really? That's what they're training them to be. Why nobody wants them. Exactly why nobody wants them. Because we're all radicalized. Thousands of people watching dead coffins. Seriously? Like celebrating dead coffins going up. That's what you're doing. And Taboo, they're going to say, oh, let a bosses group, let them take over. And they were part of it. They were there. Some of his people were there at this thing, the whole spectrum. We don't have answers. We don't have answers. It's horrific. But you know what? It's not going to stop me getting up in the morning, if I get up in the morning, right, to pray. And to put on tefillin. To say what I need to say, do what I need to do. We live in a messed up world that we ourselves messed up. And we got to take responsibility. Right? Someone asked, the Brisker Rav, look, during the 6-Day War, says, they were expecting 80,000 people to die. 80,000 people. Yeah, only like a few thousand people died. So, okay, the Brisker Rav said, yeah, it's an absolute miracle. He said, if we would have done what we're supposed to do, i.e., the Haredim, the outdoor Orthodox Jews, not one person would have died. Not one. You're not 2,000. Not one. So you gotta say, come on, we're weak generation. It doesn't matter. Right? It doesn't matter. We see around us, it's absolutely horrific, but unbelievable miracles also. You got to see divine providence, right? Absolutely, we saw that by the attack on Iran. So a number of things that Israel, God forbid, should be in a lot worse shape. Lot worse shape. Yeah, you see day in and day out these things. But it's gonna happen all over the world. I mean, I saw posts recently, people putting up about, they got these Syrian refugees. Look what they did. Right? This happened in what do you call it, in Germany. Yeah. Kid get killed who killed a 14-year-old kid who did it. Syrian refugee. These are people you're dealing with, not innocent. Not innocent. But that's why nobody wants these people. But one other thing I'll mention is man's inhumanity to man. Even during the Holocaust, as bad as the Holocaust was, you had noble people that risked their lives to save Jews. You have it. You have Germany, you have Poland, you have other places. Okay, I'm not saying there were so many, but there were righteous people that saved Jews. Any Gazans save any Israelis? None. Zero. Yeah, they took them in tunnels and people's houses. Horrific things they did to them. So where's the population? Even in the worst times, the Holocaust itself, you had people willing to save Jews. I'm not going to say it's so many, but you had people that were righteous people who want to save Jews because they believed what they were doing was wrong. How many people in Gaza saved anybody or tried to save anybody? Zero. It's a different beast. Definitely a different beast. Yeah. Any other questions? But this is for this generation. That is the test. The ultimate test. Because it's very easy to say, where's God know this? And why do they have to suffer? We don't have answers. We don't have answers. Divine decree. We mentioned this last night. It's a divine decree. Came on Rosh Hashanah, and God said, I'm going to uphold the decree. He didn't uproot the decree. And a lot of people that were killed, unfortunately. People taken hostage and killed. A lot of soldiers that were killed. A lot of bad things happened. That decree, went through. The decree with these bus bombings, these number of bus bombings, that didn't go through. God stopped it. And that could have been just as bad or worse than what happened. But where are they coming from? They come from the West Bank, quote unquote, the West Bank. That's where they were going to come through. So, I can say, it's just from Gaza. No. Got all over. Got a cancer among you. Right? So the Secretary of State said, you just got to get rid of them. You got to get rid of, the ones in Gaza, you got to get rid of. But the ones in the West Bank are no better. They're absolutely no better. But we're not going to get into politics. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, you can find me on Facebook at Mark Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, OrthodoxConversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Q&As, ethics for our fathers, Book of Leviticus. You want to send me an email, RabbiChaimKaufman@gmail.com, RBBIChaimCoffman